my name's Ray. This is a bookshelf far, far away where I talk about books. Usually I do book reviews. Today I wanted to do a little something different because I haven't finished my book for the book review I'm wanting to do. Theoden is chewing on his box and we are out in the living room because my life is a mess. So I'm going to be talking instead today about my to be read for 2023. Didn't do that last month like I should have. I've already finished 2 books this year, which may not seem like a lot considering my goal is 50. So for now, I kind of have about 4 or 5 books a month, not including book club books, because those come out the month before. So hopefully I'll have a little bit over 50 by the end of the year. If not, 50 is my flat goal. We're gonna get started. Let's go. To start, I'm doing my first book review of the year on The Last Jedi, considering my last one in October or September was on Force Awakens. I'd like to continue to try and get through the Skywalker saga. I have this. I'm doing it out of order. Like I said last year, I did prequels, sequels, and then the original trilogy, because the original trilogy I need to get a physical copy of that I can mark in, because the one I have, I'll show you, is very fancy. So I'm looking forward to this. It's not my favorite Star Wars movie, but I like it better than Rise of Skywalker, so we're gonna go from there. So this is courtesy of a Facebook group that I'm in. I got the original cover of this one in Akawar, so I'm very excited to do my read through again. My sister Christine is reading it for the first time. Murren's reading it with us, and this is my second time reading it. Murren's read it like multiple times. It's insane. Next, we're doing Clash of Kings. I'm farther in it than this because I'm reading it on my phone, but this is my physical copy. It's one of the like original covers for it, and I am obsessed. It is a little old though, so some parts like the spine isn't what it should be, but I treasure it all the same. I have a little, who's in my bookmark? I have a little Tyrion Lannister as my bookmark, thanks to Barnes & Noble. In the same vein as A Song of Ice and Fire, I am reading Fire and Blood, which I kind of wish I'd waited until after I read Dance with Dragons, but I kind of wanted to know how House of the Dragon was going to end before I started watching it, just to ease my anxiety. And I'm already like 80% of the way done with it. I am heartbroken and devastated, but I love it so much. It's so good. It's not written like a basic Game of Thrones book or a novel of any kind. It is more like an in-universe history book. I really want to do a review on it, but that would require me, I feel like, to reread it. There's a lot going on at any given time, so we're gonna wait. And my last book for February, I know February is a really short book to be reading all of these really long ones, is Breaking Dawn. I'm already on book 3 of Breaking Dawn. I am also listening to the audiobook, so this is not accurate. But I have a little Jon Snow, and then Fire and Blood had had Daenerys as the bookmark. I don't know. But those are all my books that I want to finish for February, and we're going to move on to March. So for March, my first book, because it's really short, even though it's the expanded edition for a 3-hour long movie, it's this big. I think Inferno Squad is bigger than this. I've already read it. I've already like doodled in it, so this will be a reread for me. I just need to put tabs in it this time. I did not do that last time, but can't wait to see how many annoying tabs that I can find in this book later on. It's Ray Carson. I will say she did a great job with it. Just not a book for me because I didn't like the source material. But I'm a perfectionist and a completionist, so I'm gonna do what I gotta do. And we have another of my favorite series. We have The Cruel Prince. This will be a reread for me, but only the second time I've read it. I have started it. I started tabbing it like August, but this is an old tabbing system, so I might have to redo it. Otherwise, I'm looking forward to it. My sister Murren, her partner, recently read it, and then we all just got The Stolen Heir, so that'll be later on in my to be read pile. So I just can't wait. It's so good. And we have another Game of Thrones book, another kind of original cover for it, for A Storm of Swords. She's very big. I'm very excited. I'm probably also going to read this on my phone because of just how big it is, but I like to have the physical copies as well for like when I'm at home. But the enhanced editions for iTunes, amazing. It is, I can't go into it, but chef's kiss, amazing. And we have our second to last Twilight book, Midnight Sun, which is Twilight from Edward's point of view. So this is the 3rd reiteration of Twilight. I've heard really good things about it. I kind of want to do a tandem read of this and Twilight again, but I feel like that just adds to a lot of it. I'll probably do a tandem read the second time I read this, because I'm just on a Twilight kick right now. Don't come for me. I love some vampire books, considering I'm writing a vampire book right now. Fun fact. Not what I'm basing this off of, though. So, thank you. And finally, for March, we have A Court of Mist and Fury, one of my favorite ACOTAR books, for obvious reasons if you've read it. For other reasons, I can't tell you if you haven't. So I'm looking forward to getting here again. The smell of the book reminds me of last year when I was reading it. I'm really stoked. It's such a good book. Bless you. So as you may know, April is my birth month. I didn't post like at all last year, so you guys really don't have a way of knowing that. I will be 24. I'm really excited. So the first book I grabbed from my April pile, Feast for Crows. This is the newer cover. I think for this series, I don't think they had those older covers. This is the fourth book in the series. That'll probably never be finished because George R.R. Martin has written himself into a plot hole, which, relatable, totally understand. However, please, I need Winds of Winter real bad. The furthest I've gotten in my last read through was the beginning of Clash of Kings. I'm now like 40% of the way through it. It's just a really hefty book, but I'm really hoping to be able to get through to this one, because this one doesn't seem as long as the other two are, but we'll see. We'll see. And we have another original cover for ACOWAR. Very excited to get here. I know I'm going to cry, and I look forward to it very dearly. For those of you who don't know, this is the third book of the ACOTAR series. Can't say anything because spoilers, but it's really goddamn good. I look forward to reading it and then crying about it on Twitter. And now we have the second book of the Cruel Prince series, The Wicked King. Again, it's my second read through. I'll probably end up doing a review on this series. Probably not for Stolen Air though, because I want to give it some time to marinate in my brain before I do anything like that. Carden and Jude are amazing and very good, very adorable. Love them so much because they are actual teenagers. Don't be weird. Unless you're a teenager, then you can be a little weird, but don't be weird. Kind of a big task, but here is my original trilogy cover. It has all three in it. It has A New Hope, Empire, and Return of the Jedi. She's not super thick. She's about the size of an Outlander Game of Thrones book. So I feel like I can manage this. And if anything, I'll just get different copies to read through because I am not writing in this. Maybe I'll write it in like a journal and I might put tabs. I might just get different copies so I can write in it, or I'll just do it on like ebooks. Haven't decided yet. If you guys have an idea, please put it in the comments. Thank you very much. You may think I would read like some Star Wars books for May. I don't think I have any in this pile. I don't. But we're going to be starting with a couple of novellas. First off, we have The Short Second Life of Bree Tanner. I have never read this one. I've read almost all of the other Twilight books other than Midnight Sun. I don't think I ever finished Breaking Dawn during my first Twilight phase. I didn't really want to. It got kind of boring, I think, after Renesmee was born, so I just never finished it. But I finally have my own copy of this, and I really want to read it soon. So we're just going to have to wait like 2 months, and then I can read it. But it's really short, very sweet, to the point. Kind of sad if you know what happens to Bree Tanner, but it is what it is. And then we have A Dance with Dragons, the most recent book in the Game of Thrones series, which came out, I think, in 2011, right around the time the show started. It's a very big book, very beautiful. This one, I think, has some water damage to it, so I may be replacing it sooner rather than later and then just donate this one. But I've had this since I lived in Colorado, and I bought it like this. I kind of like how the pages feel, though, so we'll see if I end up replacing it or not by the time I get around to maybe talking about the Game of Thrones books. We'll see. And then we have Queen of Nothing, the final book, technically the final book in the original trilogy of Cruel Prince. Folk of the Air. Folk of the Air is the name of that series. There is the novella, How the King of Elfhame Learned to Hate Stories, which I will probably end up reading. I don't have my own copy of it, but I didn't want to go into my sister's room and grab it. So I might be reading that, might not. But this is, the last book. So emotional. Not my favorite though, but it's still really good. Like I said, we'll be reading another novella, which is going to be A Court of Frost and Starlight, the novella for ACOTAR that takes place between book 3 and book 4. It's very good for like a Christmassy vibe, which I feel like I'll want in the start of May when it starts to get hot, because it's because summer is like the worst season for me. I like being warm, I don't like being hot. And then my final book I want to read for May is going to be A Court of Silver Flames. Hopefully we'll have some news about the new ACOTAR books this year, hopefully next year. Literally anytime. I don't want another Game of Thrones happening. Thank you very much, Sarah J. Maas. Is it Maas? Moss? I don't know. Sarah, I love you. Please don't do this to me. I know she's wanting to finish Crescent City before she continues ACOTAR, but I am desperate. I need more. So, hence the reread. Yay. So, for June, I do want to start another Sarah J. Maas series, and that is going to be Throne of Glass, but I'm going to start with the novella Assassin's Blade. I think it's a collection of novellas, actually. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this character kind of began, and then eventually getting through to Kingdom of Ash. And then I'm also going to be reading Throne of Glass. Probably out closer to the end of the month is my goal to start this. So that way I can kind of lay the foundations with that, read a couple of the books, and then get on to this before I really start getting into the series. Didn't have a Star Wars book for May when May the 4th happens. I do have a Star Wars book for June. I've had this book since 2020. It is very well loved. This is my old tabbing system. Has a lot of little notes to myself in it and highlights. And it's one of my favorite Star Wars books. I've read it at least once a year since I've gotten it. I think in 2020 I read it 3 times because Gideon Hask is in fact my husband and Iden Versio is my wife and Del Mico is just the cutest guy. So we are gonna do Stolen Air this month. This is my pride, one of my prides and joys. The Barnes & Noble exclusive of Stolen Air. Got it for my sister and I the week it came out. I think 2 or 3 days after. I think we were doing a tandem read, or not a tandem read, a buddy read with Marin and her partner. So hopefully they can wait for me. If not, I may have to read this sooner than June, but we'll see how that goes. Lastly, we are doing another novella. It'll be Cruel Crown from the Red Queen series. I've already read, I think I've already read this, but that was years ago and I don't really remember it. So we will cross that bridge when we come to it. If I remember it correctly, it was one of my favorite pieces of fiction from Victoria Aveyard. For July, I'm wanting to start with more Throne of Glass because I said I wanted to end it with Throne of Glass. So we're gonna read Crown of Midnight, which I could not remember if it was Crown of Midnight or Heir of Fire that came next. Second book of Throne of Glass. And then we have Heir of Fire, third book. Super excited, 4th Throne of Glass book I'll be reading. I love the art style, and I will say I bought all of the Throne of Glass books except for the first one at the same time because I remembered that they were changing the cover and I really wanted the original covers. And then I am restarting the Red Queen series. I've read this one about 2 or 3 times now. I get really distracted while reading this series, but I want to be able to finish it. I do love her writing style. I love the premise of the story. I just kind of struggle with it keeping my attention for too long because it is very young adult. Not that that's anything bad. Victoria Aveyard does a fantastic job with literally every aspect of a story. I just do like a little spice. I do need a little spice, hence why ACOTAR is just perfect for me. Hopefully, I'll be able to finish it this year. Glass Sword, I've read this only once. Really enjoyed it, but it's the second book of Red Queen, so we'll see how far I can get into it. And surprisingly, this isn't going to be the third book of Red Queen, but it is 3 Dark Crowns. I know this is technically a series, but I don't have the other books in the series other than on Kindle. I kind of want to just start this before I make any promises to continue that series. So this is the third book of the Red Queen series, King's Cage. I've gotten kind of early into this book when I last tried to read it. It is really good. And then we have the final book of this series, War Storm. Have not touched this other than to buy it and to hold it right now. I usually just have it on my bookshelf. So I'm looking forward to being able to finish Mare Barrow's story and see how everything plays out. Now we have Black Sun by Rebecca Rohnhorse. The only other book I have from her is a Star Wars book. I haven't read it either. This one I've had for almost 2 years now. It'll be 2 years in March when I got my Barnes & Noble card. I really liked the cover and it was buy one, get one half off, I think. So I ended up getting this guy. From what I've seen of it online, it gets a lot of really good reviews. So I hope it stands to that, but it looks like it's going to because the aesthetic, immaculate. I love this color of blue. I love the gold. I love the black. And yes, don't judge a book by its cover, but it's also indigenous. Focuses a lot on pre-Columbian Americas, which is what it says on the back, and I totally just cheated. And my cat is bringing me his sock. Now we have more Throne of Glass. We have Queen of Shadows. I will also be reading Empire of Storms this month. So hopefully I'll be able to get these done They are getting heftier and heftier, so I'm kind of worried because I have more books. I kind of have the same number of books per each pile. So now I'm worried that I'm not gonna be able to get through my own reading challenge. So for September, I wanted to start with a book I've already read. It has been since the end of 2021 since I've read this and the second book, but they can both be read as standalones, more or less. But this one was my favorite. It's about this girl who's kind of been doomed by the star she was born under. Chef's kiss, death as a character, beautiful time, gorgeous aesthetics, and it has Sarah J. Maas's star of approval. So how much better can you get? It is by Roshani Chokshi. I'm probably mispronouncing that, and Roshani, I am very sorry that I did that. Next, we have Belladonna by Adeline Grace. This is a book I ended up giving my sister during our book clubs, a white elephant with books. So I ended up buying the Barnes & Noble exclusive for myself a little bit after she'd gotten that in our book exchange, and I'm really looking forward to reading it. The aesthetic is beautiful. I love the names. I love how the book looks without the dust jacket. So far, aesthetic is 100%. Super stoked to read this. So we do have a Star Wars book this month. We have Bloodline by Claudia Gray. I wanted to pick one of the older Star Wars books that I own. It's from 2015, 2016 era. She also has written a couple of other Star Wars books that I really love. And my friend got to meet her at Kansas City Comic-Con last year and got me one of my books signed for my birthday. So this takes place, I think, between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens. And then finally, I'm going to attempt my first ever tandem read. I would like to do what I'm doing with Midnight Sun and Twilight, and I probably should read them separately. But I've got Tower of Dawn, which I'm holding it weird. Tower of Dawn, which I see all the time people asking if they need to read it, and the answer is going to be yes. You have to read every book in a series. And then Kingdom of Ash. I was told that reading them in a tandem read is actually really cool. I don't know if I have the brain capacity to do that, but I will certainly attempt it and let you guys know how it goes. So one of my books for October is going to be King of Scars. There's my cat in the background touching my bookshelf. And then I will also be reading Rule of Wolves. They are from the Grishaverse, and I believe they follow Nikolai from that trilogy. So I'm very stoked. I'm very, very excited. He was one of my favorite characters. And then for October, I also picked 2 other Star Wars books. This is another one of my older ones, The Legends of Luke Skywalker. This more came out closer to The Last Jedi, so I want to say I got it in 2018 when I was living in Colorado. It's mostly just short stories about Luke Skywalker, is my understanding. I could be completely wrong. But I also am doing another book that has Luke Skywalker as a central character, and that is Shadow of the Sith, also Lando Calrissian. It kind of goes into depth about part of Rise of Skywalker that I hated, so hopefully it makes me hate it less. If not, I'll probably just really enjoy the book because I like Star Wars, man. It's cool. Luke Skywalker, phenomenal, amazing, iconic. Can't wait. And then last but not least, we have November. As I said, December is gonna be like a free space. I'm gonna just carry over books that need to be carried over and continue that way. My cat has the zoomies, so hopefully he doesn't knock over my tripod. For November, he just knocked a little bit. I'm wanting to start the Crescent. Dude, stop. For November, I'm wanting to start Crescent City. So this is House of Earth and Blood. The second one is House of Sky and Breath. I don't have that one yet. I think I have it on Kindle. I might buy a physical book because I love physical copies. And I might want to doodle in it. I'm trying not to doodle in my ACOTAR books or my Crescent City or Throne of Glass, but nobody's perfect, and I like to draw on things that are mine. We'll see how that goes. I do have a trilogy from Star Wars that I'm wanting to read. It is the Aftermath trilogy by Chuck Wendig. I have read the first one. The other 2 I've not gotten to, but it is closer to the end of the Empire. I know this one takes place during the Battle of Jakku, which if you've played Battlefront 2, that is like the very end of the Imperial Remnant. So, very exciting stuff. So that is my to be read for 2020. I know it's like closer to 48 books, but I've already read 2 books this year. Uprooted and I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. Very hard book. Those are both book club books, and I just finished Uprooted today. So if you guys are reading anything, please let me know in the comments. If you'd like to see me do any review videos on a certain book that you saw during this thing, go ahead and put it in the comments. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!